The Citizen Review Board. I'm Peter McCarthy, Chair, and this meeting is called to order. First item, approval for January meeting minutes. You had your minutes in the email.
Move to approve.
I believe there's a copy in the folder. Any comments on the meeting minutes for January? Let me do this first. Could I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion?
The only discussion I had was I was present at the January meeting. I want to put that on the record so that they have me as absent.
Okay. Were you present?
I was
It
present.
was a meeting where we changed the date.
That was the meeting we changed the date.
Okay,
I didn't come in December. I was sick.
okay. Any other comments or corrections? You look like you want to
He
say.
was.
I don't think he was here because we had to come in because we didn't have a quorum.
We had to call, yeah, we
I had to
had,
come in because
you
I
had to
didn't-
come in sick and miserable,
Yes.
and you were just awful.
Yes.
Yeah, you weren't here, Dan.
I think, Dan, you weren't here because you weren't sure.
Last month?
I
Correct.
believe that's true.
Dan and Ruth wasn't here.
And Marissa, Cynthia.
Last month?
Yeah, last month.
It took place in the second week of January because we had moved the date due to a conflict.
Yeah, I was here.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was.
We had, who's it say was here?
Somebody use the Google and look at the video.
Meg, Letitia,
It says there were 5 people here.
We barely had a quorum.
Dana. Yeah, we barely had a quorum.
The
There were
quorum
5
is
people absent.
6, right?
2, 3, 4, 6. Yep.
I was here. I'm sure of it. I wasn't here in December,
I thought you were here in December, but
but I was here in,
No, I almost want to say you were out because of illness.
I can bring it up on YouTube and show you.
do whatever you gotta do.
I don't think he was here.
He wasn't here.
Present, May, Hatisha, Peter, Lori, Dana, Cliff.
Yep.
That's 6, that was the
That
quorum.
was it because we had to.
That was the quorum, because we waited until the last people got here and then we had the quorum.
And here's our teacher now.
Would you like us to check on YouTube? We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got
You
you.
take responsibility for
Yes,
that?
I came in a little late.
Okay. Cynthia?
Just to let you know that last month's meeting did not come up. Remember, I texted you and I said it's not showing, so unless it came up later. Because I wasn't here the last meeting, and I tried to watch it on YouTube, and the cameras wasn't on, unless they came on later.
Okay, we'll check and
Okay.
see if, so I'd like to suggest that we adopt the minutes subject to checking attendance. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Like to review committee assignments. Renette sent out in the email a list of who's on what committees. And
The email I received yesterday or today?
There was the one yesterday.
is it in the folder
I
also?
think that's the part that didn't attach to yours, Cynthia, when we re-forwarded it.
I don't think that new person that I didn't have a chance to meet knows I exist.
Well, no, that was me sending the email, not him. He just forwarded it to you, so I don't know how I missed you, but I apologize.
That's okay. I'm not in your distribution. I'm not on your
Well,
distribution list.
it's not, it's like I copy your emails from other emails, and I must have just missed putting you on that, so it wasn't intentional.
Oh,
No, I'm just saying, but he only forwarded what I told him to forward, and so he's not the initial person doing the email, I am. So I apologize, because I didn't notice that you were on there.
and I didn't get anything in reference to, February schedule for hearings. I didn't get any of that, because I wasn't in the
So
email.
that email that we forwarded to you today, it was asking about February availability for hearings, and not many people provided it, so we still need to figure out what's the February availability for hearings.
Okay. Do we have the committee assignments in our folders?
It should have been in your folder, if not, it was in that email.
It was in the email. I saw
Email
the
that came
email.
today,
It came
yesterday, right?
Yeah, he's
So
not.
we can review it again in next month's
Let's
meeting.
do that. Let's make sure
Peter?
everybody has a copy next
Peter?
time. Is that that?
That's our last meeting right there.
January 9th,
Okay.
and Dan's
You
not.
might have to scroll ahead a little bit in case he was late. Can you let us know in a little while?
Got you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move committee assignments to next month.
Is it in the folder?
I thought it was, made a copy of it, I don't.
Yes, I have it, thank you.
Okay, so
Is it in there?
it should have been in there.
That's what I thought.
It's in the folder. What can I tell you?
So you don't get emails, but you get papers.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let me write that down.
Write that down, Dana.
You know what it was, because it was in your January,
we looking for?
Folder,
Your January folder.
which I wasn't here in January.
Yeah, so then
It's in there.
it wasn't
thank you.
reprinted in your folder.
It's in there. Just got it.
Is that, is close to the end of the
Okay.
folder.
So let's take a minute.
I think I did,
Does
yeah.
everybody
But I
have
got it on
access to a
email.
copy of that?
Of what?
Committee assignments?
Oh, I just put it away, Teresa said you were talking about.
I don't
the
have
next-
that.
Yeah, I got it on email, though.
Okay,
Can you just say who won
I'll
this
just read them off. So, the committee to assess the CRB administrator, that will change, because we had a change this year. So, Operations Committee, Ruth Coots and Cynthia Brunson. Outreach and Public Education, Atisha Holmes and Cliff Ryan. Board Development and Training, Peter McCarthy. Is anybody else on that?
Don't look like it.
Okay. Government Relations, this is a group that has been meeting periodically at City Hall. Lori Nelson, May Carter, Hatisha Holmes, and Ruth Coots. And the chair, I'm the chair, I also serve as a member of that committee. Police Relations, who meets with the Syracuse Police Department's Police Liaison Committee. Dan Grinnells, Dana Natale, Peter McCarthy, and Clifford Ryans. And Recruitment Committee, we have Cynthia Brunson. I'm going to propose that we look at this again next month and see if that size of each committee makes sense, and if we want to make any changes, then I'll update the committee to assess the administrator, because we had a change on that.
I got the, may I be heard?
No, it's not planned.
You may, thank you.
I got the email that said that the police department changed their liaison committee around. What was the reason for that?
I don't know, I didn't ask. I just saw, some different names.
Let's come
Yeah.
back to that in a minute. We'll get.
Oh,
get to
okay,
police
well, okay, I'm
liaison.
sorry, I didn't,
No, that's fine, thank you, Dan.
Can you just tell me what the operations committee is?
So that's the committee that you've been on. And remember, you were on it before I even got hired. And that was why you were keeping in contact with the then acting administrator and what was going on with the, typist 2 at the time. That's why you were on that committee. And that's the reason why you were kind of abreast as to what was going on in the office. So that's what that is.
Okay, I'll just make a brief comment. The second item we put under chairperson's report. In December, we had a somewhat contentious meeting where there was some disagreement among board members, and I apologized at the next meeting to those people who were there for my failure to control that meeting adequately. And I apologize again for that. I'm going to request that we adhere a little bit more strictly to the portion of Robert's rules that demands that people be recognized before they speak. Robert's rules is really set up for larger organizations, and it's recognized that groups of under 12 or 15 tend to be a little bit more informal. What Robert's rules actually says is no one will speak until recognized by the chair, and on a particular topic, each member of the assembly has the right to speak only once. That's meant to keep order in large groups. We don't apply that second part where people are allowed to speak only once on a topic. But I will ask that we be a little bit more cognizant of the need to be recognized by the chair before speaking, so that I can make sure that we keep any conflict to a minimum. And if people have any concerns about that, I'd be happy to talk about them. Any questions about that or concerns at the moment? Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, administrators report. Oh, one other thing, we will have Yusuf Abdul Qadir from New York Civil Liberties Union will be showing up probably about 6:15. He's asked for a few minutes to speak to the board before public comment, so.
Who will be showing
From where,
up?
I'm sorry?
Yusuf from New York Civil Liberties Union.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. My friend.
Good. Okay. Chairperson's, administrators report.
All right, so in your folders, you will see the activity report, and it shows that so far in the month of January, we received 4 complaints, so making our total just for January to be 4 complaints, because we have received complaints in the month of February already, but remember, we're a month behind. So as of January, we had 4 complaints, and you can see the breakdown of the cases. And tonight, we are going to be reviewing 5 cases in executive session for tonight. There has been a request, and we need to discuss whether or not we are going to put signage back on the central buses. Last time, we spent about $3,400 for signage on the central buses. That included the exterior bus stop signs inside the shelters, and it included interior signs inside the bus throughout. We need to know whether or not we are looking to spend that money again for signage on the central buses, and I need to be able to let budget know whether or not we intend to spend that money or some money. So as a board, we need to figure out if that's what we want to do, so that we can prepare to do that.
May I be heard?
Please.
Are there programs where it's cheaper than $3,400, or is that the cheapest program that we have?
So we just
For buses.
We just chose to spend that amount of money.
Oh, okay.
Was the $3,400, but we have to use Lamar Advertising, because that is the company that does the bus advertising. But we just allocated $3,400 last year to spend on bus signage. So we just need to decide if y'all want to spend less. It would mean that, maybe we don't do the shelters and we just do the interior signs. It's just kind of up to you, because they make the package based upon what we're trying to spend.
Lori.
Could we look into billboards and the cost of billboards?
I think that would be better.
And do a comparison? I think some of the newer billboards that have they change and they're flashing and they're bright, if we could see how much it would be to put one of those on each side of town.
When do we need to put the numbers in the budget?
Well, as long as I can send some stuff out, would we agree to allocate, even if it's not central, are we going to allocate a certain amount of money for advertisement? Yes. And I guess maybe that's the thing that we decide, the amount of money for advertisement that we think that we're going to spend, and then we can decide what type of advertisement that is, if it's the billboard opposed to the central. So can we decide on that?
So when does that decision, and soon or immediately? Is that what you're saying?
We need to know
Okay.
tonight how much we plan to spend on some sort of advertisement, and then we can decide what that advertisement is.
Okay.
I just use Central because we've previously done that, and we spent $3,400 on it, so I just wanted to put that out there. But if you want to look into billboards, but you're saying, hey, we still only want to spend $3,400 on billboards,
Got it.
you know what I mean? We need to agree on an amount.
Dan?
Yeah, I raised the question, the need for advertising. We'd have to look and see, of the $3,400 that we spent and whatever we ended up spending on the bus, what do you call them there? How many clients did we get out of that, and how many people did we help, and how many people would we help if we went on to Lori's idea of the thing? as I read the cases over that were sent to me by email, at the bottom of the oops complaint, it says you can go to the Citizens Review Board if you want to.
Right, so we don't know where our complaints come from.
Okay,
That's a good point.
but I understand that, you know, we're not working with a burgeoning budget here. And I just want to make sure that we spend our money wisely if we're going to spend it. And I think we have to look and see what.
So, in the material that we looked at last year, it did explain what type of reach to the public you would get per advertising method. So it would it broke it down and it would say, like, you know, print and media, you get this percentage. I can recirculate that information, but I will tell you that I didn't hear anybody say that they came to our office because they saw our sign in the bus shelter.
Maybe that ought to be a question we ask.
And so that would be something that's on, you know what I mean, in a survey or something, but I know I didn't hear anybody say, well, yeah, I saw your sign in the shelter, so, you know what I mean, I came. Or, yeah, I saw your sign on the bus, so I didn't see that, but I do know that material, that packet that we had did break down, you know, what you get by print, what you get by media, what you get by, you know, exterior signs and things of that nature. We have an advertisement budget, and if we don't utilize the funds, they're going to take it away. So that's the reason why we look to try to utilize the funds, because if not, it shortens our budget. And so, again, I'm not saying we have to definitely do central signs. I'm saying that our ability to advertise, it will short, you know what I mean? It's good to utilize the money in the budget if we need to. But that's why I don't mind looking at the billboards or something as a different form if we think that we didn't get what we should have from the central.
So,
Lori, something.
I don't know necessarily that we'll ever know how many people come because of an advertisement. My intent personally was to make sure that people who might not ordinarily know that we exist have another way of finding out that we exist. And whether it's buses or radio ads or billboards is really not that important to me, but whatever we think is going to reach the most number of people who at least know that they have an avenue other than going to the police department.
Right,
Thank
and
you.
it's nowhere on our forum that asks that, so I would have to physically, you know, ask that. You know, there's nothing on our complaint form that says, how did you hear about us? You know, that kind of thing. So unless it was in my mind to ask them when I talked to them, then,
The survey.
you know, but I'm just saying, nobody walked in and said, I saw it, but
Okay,
that
we had
doesn't mean
about
they didn't.
4 more people wanted to make comments, so I'm going to ask them to keep them very brief, and we probably should have had a motion first, but let's make very brief comments, and then we'll ask for a motion and try to make a decision. I'm going to try to go the order they were in. Dana, Cliff, May, and Dan.
No, May, not May,
Sorry?
not May.
Not you. Dana, Cliff, Cynthia, and Dan. All those had their hands up? Dana?
I would just like to move that we use the money in our operating budget for advertising.
Okay. Cliff?
I think it's very important to make sure that we try to get that information out as far as the Citizens Review Board is concerned, and to piggyback off of Lori's comment about radio advertising, that's a very good idea right there for getting that word out, because a lot of people ask, how do I get in contact with the Citizens Review Board? When you have a billboard up in the community that is showing that information, you can refer that. There's a billboard up, and you can do that. And I'm always telling people to come down to the office to file a complaint. So getting that information out to the community is very important, because sometimes people don't know where to go, who to contact, where to file a complaint at.
Got it. Thank you. And Cynthia?
And I did run into somebody, I don't remember who it was, that did say, that they saw an advertisement of the Citizens Review Board. So wherever they saw that, whether it was in a bus shuttle or on a bus, that's a good thing. But I have to agree again with Lori in regards to the billboard and with Cliff in regards to the radio.
Thank you. And last quick comment, Dan?
Yes, I was erroneously thinking that we had a general budget. I didn't know that we had specific areas whereby that money was lost if we didn't use it. So I revised my comments to say that we should use the money that we have, but certainly no more than that.
Thank you. So,
There you are. Sorry.
Hey, Dana, did you do a motion?
Yes.
I did,
I second your motion.
thank you.
so the motion is to approve $3,400 for advertising, and we will,
No, the motion is to use the advertisement money for advertisement. So
Okay.
whatever that amount of money it
Do
is,
we know how much that is?
I think it's 5,000. I think it's 5,000, and we just chose to use 3,400 the last time.
okay, so we'll come back to the board with more specifics as we make decisions
Right,
about
but
how
I
we
should
spend
let
that
them
money.
know that.
Yep.
Okay, okay. So Hatisha and then gotcha.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay, next in your folders, you will see.
I'd like to interrupt for a second to note that a very important personage has entered the room while we were talking. Ms. Turner, thank you for visiting us. There are other important personages in the room, but I just want
There's
to recognize.
two others.
Three of them.
There are three others, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's Joe right there.
Well, I'm important.
You are important too. Thank you. And Mustafa is as important as anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, in your folder, you'll see, remember we discussed the JAG grant that came from the Department of Justice that we were able to obtain, and it's in the amount of $5,000.
Whoa.
Okay? I just found out that the money is now available. So inside your folders, you will see that we have previously asked to look into Bob Cat Training and Consultant. He is Bob Stewart, who came to our meeting and talked to us. And so he has provided us with an invoice for the amount of $500 for our annual training day for him to come in as a speaker. So that JAG grant is for training and training-related travel. So I was going to ask for a motion to approach. So I would need to go to the grant department and say, hey, we want to propose that we use $500 of the JAG grant to pay for Bob Stewart to come to our annual training day. So I would need a motion to approach them with regard to that. So
let's take that motion, then we'll take questions and comments.
I'll make a motion for the
To
training
approve requesting
grant.
the $500, that we
Yes.
use the $500 grant for training. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion. Dan?
No, I answered my own question. Thank you.
Will we have to go back
All
to
those in
them
favor?
Well,
for
I-
travel money and so forth for him?
So he is already going to be in town, so therefore we do not have to pay for travel for him to be here. So that's why the invoice is only $500. It's for a half day's worth of training for him to come in and train us, and that's what the $500 is for. There will not be any travel for him because he's gonna be here.
Great.
So we won't have to go back.
Is that for the March training that we have scheduled?
For our annual training day.
Okay.
All right, and also in your folders,
Let's vote on this.
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
March.
Any
So that
abstentions?
will-
Okay.
All right. So, also in your folder, you will see that there is a letter. There is a letter in there that talks about the 2020 CIT International Conference, which stands for Crisis Intervention Team. So, previously, we have made recommendations to the police department with regard to their response in times to people when they're experiencing a mental health breakdown, and whether or not whether or not they call the appropriate personnel rather than handling the situation themselves. Okay, that is what a crisis intervention team is. So recently, there was an article in the news that talked about how the more police officers were attending this crisis intervention training here throughout the city, and it was going through Access CNY. So I reached out to Access CNY to see if we would be able to, or I would be able to attend this training. They basically advised me that the training is only, they received a grant for it, and the training is only for law enforcement or first responders. So therefore, that would mean that I can't attend the training or you can't attend the training. So when, after that point in time, I then began to reach out to other oversight agencies throughout the country and find out more information about whether or not, their board members go to this CIT training and things of that nature. In that quest, I found out that there's an international conference that occurs, and it occurs this year in Pittsburgh. And it's it's August 24th through the 26th. So in your folders, you will see a letter. And that letter describes what are the things that I would learn at the time of attending that training. So I did a little research, and based upon the information that I was able to obtain, the amount of money that could potentially be spent out of, again, the JAG grant to attend the CIT training would be close to $1,600, which is just almost the amount of money that we spend annually for me going to training anyways for the NACO conference and the Use of Force conference. But our training budget isn't big enough to pay for the CIT conference. So what I was asking was for a motion to propose attendance at the CIT conference in August and utilize the JAG grant for that as well. And so we need to know whether or not that's something I can approach them on and utilizing the JAG grant for that. And again, the total of the JAG grant is $5,000. So we would be approaching them with the $500 for Bob Stewart and then this $1,695 or so, which still leaves money left over. But I'm wanting to get to them early because all of this has to be approved. They have to submit the documentation to the proper people at the Department of Justice for them to approve the funding being used. So we want to make sure we do this in enough time.
Okay, motion please, and then discussion.
I'll make a motion.
Cliff? Dana, could you read
Approve
the
it.
motion we have?
The motion is to go to get approval for to spend
CIT?
$1,600 or so for Renette to travel to the CIT conference to acquire some training in dealing with people with mental illness and all the other amazing things she says in this letter here.
Thank you. And a second? Can we have a second from someone?
I do.
Second.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Okay, could you explain really briefly, and this is a huge topic, but could you give us a 1-minute summary or something of what we have recommended to the police force in terms of how they respond to people who might be suffering from mental illness and what we've recommended? Does
So-
that question make sense?
Yeah, so we recommended that they utilize a program called One Mind, and it's through the, we recommended it last year, and it is part of the International Chiefs Association, IACP, recommended this group. It's a program, and it's called One Mind, and it's making sure that the law enforcement professionals are specifically trained with regard to mental illness. They look for those signs, and then they kind of, look at how to alleviate an arrest in this situation, but more focus on getting the person in a place that can deal with their mental health issue opposed to an arrest. So we previously recommended, and it's called One Mind, and it's through IACP. It's in our 2018 annual report. I don't remember the exact specifics of what the policy says, but I know it's called One Mind, and it's by IACP, and it deals with that. And so by us only reading the material, the One Mind goes off of a method that gives it more detail, and this will help me to understand a lot more as to what goes into a city's program for a CIT team, so that then we know whether or not now we can make recommendations as the board as to what type of other avenues they should put in our own CIT response team. And in order to understand that, we have to go attend the conference to find out what's the national best practices related to that.
And the police department's response so far is that they are using a widely recognized and effective program for dealing with people struggling with mental illness. Is that accurate, what we've heard from them?
Yes, they're using, I believe it's they're coordinating with the Office of Mental Health with regard to their program here, but we don't know if that's the national best practices or if that's just our practice here locally. And this conference will allow us to get information with regard to what is being done nationally, because again, this is a national crisis. It's not just a Syracuse crisis, so I'm quite sure there's a lot more experts.
Thank you. Dan and then Cliff?
In days gone by, there was a CIT team at Hutchings that was prepared to go out into the real world and talk to these people, and we would call them, and they would show up. And I don't know whether that program is still in operation or not, but it was helpful because it made the difference in at least one case that I can think of right now. Made the difference between putting the handcuffs on somebody on a 941 arrest and taking them for an evaluation or leaving. And I think that that's a huge difference in my world.
Thank you.
So-
Cliff?
Ms. Rutherford, would that help us in making our decision when it comes down to hearings, the information? Would that be helpful to us as far as making our decisions?
I believe it would. I mean, in our hearings, remember, we have lots of discussions, and I bring in training aspects that I've learned throughout my training to help you, you know what I mean, when you're talking about these things. So it would be my ability to then transfer that information to you at a training to say, hey, at a hearing to say, hey, you know, in another place, they utilize these options. We could be recommending that kind of thing here, or we should have, you know, utilized that. So I do believe that it's important for us, and I think that it's important for us to understand what's happening in other places. And this, again, this is the international training, and there's another piece of paper in there that should give you a little bit more of a breakdown. The one that, so you have this, you have the letter, and then you have that welcome to the CIT International in there that breaks it down a whole lot more for you to see different information that is useful in there.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, I'd like to express my opinion. I think we need as much information as we can on this kind of issue. I think we've made a recommendation to the police department. I think as a board, we don't necessarily know enough about this issue to determine whether or not the department's position is correct, that they have an effective program, or whether we need to continue to advocate for something else. So I would support it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay, also in your folder, there is an opportunity for, it says on here this First Amendment Summit through the Dago Law Group, but when I looked more into it, after putting it on there as a discussion piece, I'll give you the topics as to what it said it was going to talk about, and I think that the other two trainings that we discussed would be beneficial to the board to a greater extent than this one. So I want to go ahead and table the fact that on your agenda it says the First Amendment Summit, that we're not going to discuss that one, because as of right now, that's not a true concern of ours. So I don't think we should go ahead and, you know what I mean, approach them with regard to that.
Fair enough, thank you.
Okay. So then the last one was, we have a new intern. Her name is Samantha Pierce. She was unable to come tonight. She's just like our last intern from the SU Political Science Group. I believe I circulated her resume. I know I circulated it to Peter and Hatisha, but I thought I circulated to everybody, but if you guys wanted to just briefly talk about it, if not, then she started on Wednesday. She started last week on Wednesday, and she comes in on Wednesdays and Fridays, and she's doing some research for us and things of that nature. So all the topics that we previously shared about what the intern does when they're in the office. So just wanted to make everybody aware that if you come in the office, there may be another body, and she's our intern.
Thank you. Committee reports, community outreach?
So far this month, I don't have any community outreach that I've personally set up for the board, so I was looking to see if anybody else had anything that they had scheduled for us, because I don't have anything currently. All right,
Okay,
if you do have some, just email me so that we can get it prepared and things of that nature.
We'll get together on it.
Thank you. Board developments, we have our training day scheduled for Saturday, March 21st. We'll get out a detailed agenda with more times, and we have confirmed the location will be at 1199, where we've had it the previous 2 years. Thank you, Hatisha. So we'll provide details about the actual agenda, refreshments, and so forth. Bob Stewart, we've approved the grant money to be used for that. We also have Peter Wellner from Interfaith Works as a facilitator tentatively for an hour and a half to talk about board process and the things we worked with Peter last time. So we have a full day of activities that's coming together for that. Any questions about that? Government relations.
So we have a meeting scheduled on February the 11th at 3:00 p.m. in the mayor's conference room. That's going to be for the members who attended the last time. So that was Lori, Dana, and Peter. And I know Lori
I'll be out of town.
will be out of town. So it'll be myself, Dana, and Peter that will attend. And then we'll come back and we'll report to the board like we always have in our March meeting as to how that was going to go. From our last meeting, the lawyers were going to meet our outside counsel, who is Ryan Susser. He's in the building. And also Corporation Counsel had a meeting together. As you know, we have still been deciphering these two memos, for which the law department has read the ordinance and has advised us what they believe we're supposed to receive from the Office of Professional Standards, and then our attorney wrote a rebuttal with regard to those documents, and they have had 2 meetings together to discuss those things to make sure that we are in agreement as to what will be shared, and when something is not shared, why it wasn't shared, and all of that kind of stuff. And so this will be a meeting back again to give an update with regard to that. And so I guess that's the basic gist of that. And then moving forward, we will have less government relations meetings and have more meetings. If you if you are not aware as of yet, so Chol Machok is the public safety, committee chair. And they have decided to have standing public safety meetings every month. And those standing public safety meetings will occur if we have a topic to discuss. So if we have an issue moving forward with regard to what's happening between the CRB and the police department, there will be a public safety meeting to discuss that in public, okay?
Absolutely.
And
Right.
then if there is no topic to be then discussed, then that meeting will be canceled if we don't have anything or there is nothing else on the agenda that relates to public safety. So under the Public Safety Committee, well, under the public safety, it's the fire department and the police department. So they may have meetings on those days, but you should check your common counselor agenda to see whether or not there is a public safety meeting that's going to be held related to the CRB, and you guys will be able to see that. It's usually going to be at the end of the month, and
Will they send out information pertaining?
they'll send out, they have to provide a notice, but then as soon as I know that we're going to be on the calendar, I'll be providing it, and it's usually, I believe, like 3 o'clock, something of that nature. But I'll go ahead and I'll send out what they have suggested so far, but there was a, one of the dates said, November, and I think it was supposed to be September, so I was waiting to see if they were gonna send out another letter before I gave that to you. But yeah, I'll make sure that you guys know and ahead of time what that's going to be. And so that's gonna be the moving forward. And so as we've discussed in the past, instead of just reaching out to the committee chair, we CC all the committee members on all the documentation and all the concerns that we have, not just the chair. Just so you know. So that is kind of how we're going to be moving forward and why we're going to have less government relations meetings. Because then the chief and I meet every month, and we discuss things, and if there are issues that the chief needs to discuss with the mayor's office and things of that nature, then he will discuss those. And then if it needs to be worked out, it'll be worked out in the public safety meeting.
Excellent.
Okay? Things of that nature. So you'll be able to see that, and again, it'll be recorded and all of that kind of stuff on the city's YouTube page, so you'll be able to see a little bit more. So we're gonna start moving in that direction, based upon the council's new procedures and protocol, okay?
Right.
So just so we're all clear.
Okay, police relations, that's our committee of members of the police department that's established according to the statute. We have some new members from the police department. The last meeting was unfortunately canceled after some of us arrived downtown and paid the parking meters, but no hard feelings about that. Try not to have that happen. So we have some new members and we're trying to schedule a meeting.
So we do have a new meeting date. I just got an email with
Oh.
regard to it. So the meeting is gonna be February the 20th, and it's gonna be at 2:00 p.m. And I believe it is going to be the location, one second.
PSB, right?
The location is going to be in the PSB conference room, like it's always been, until further notice. So right now, I'm gonna give you the dates because we've already scheduled them for the remaining of the year. But it's gonna be February 20th at 2:00. The next one is gonna be May 21st at 2:00. The next one after that is gonna be August 20th at 2:00. And it's gonna be November 19th at 2:00. And remember, we scheduled those meetings to be in the middle of each quarter so that then we can discuss issues prior to the end of the quarter, so that when we do our quarterly reports, that information can be included. All right, I'm done talking.
Thank you. Community organization representative has not arrived, so we will move right to public comment. Members of the public, if you'd like to speak, please come up to the mic, introduce yourselves, say hello. Time is yours. Mustafa, please.
Please, let's get some time.
Mustafa. I want to speak about the signs. I remember last year when I had said that, you know, in the bus stops and so on like that, but I don't think that was a really good move, because it's only a 30-day limit for that right there. Whereas the buses, the ones on the buses on the signs, they be staying up for years. You see what I'm saying? The ones on the buses stays up for years. Although they got a limitation, but the thing is, the space, it'll always be open space, so that's why they be leaving it up for years and so on like that. But as far as the billboard, I think that would be a good, but you got to look at the cost of that too, because it also, with the bus signs on the bus stops, it was only for 30 days for, I don't know how much, that right there. So a billboard might cost a little something, and it might be a limitation on that for a certain amount of time. So you got to also consider that right there. But I definitely think that the ones on the buses, you can get more on more and more buses throughout the city, going on all sides of the city. That's very important that it goes on all sides of the city. And if you can get more on more buses, it's a good possibility that them signs might be up for a while. So, as far as people saying, well, I found out through the, I'm saying I don't really think that part right there is really important. The main thing is they're using the services that's available to them. That's the main point right there, that they coming up using the citizen review board. That's the main important thing right there. But I think that putting on the buses is important. But consider that billboard is good, but you got to also weigh the cost and stuff like that and how long that billboard will be up, because people is always using that billboard,
It's at least a month.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions from the public?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Nader Maroon. I used to be a city councilor, and now I'm the city auditor. But I knew you were having the meeting tonight, and I wanted to stop by just to say thank you for the work that you do. It's very important. I'm an old man, and I was on the council years ago when Charles Anderson and I talked about having a citizens review board. And I left the council before it actually was in place, but we worked hard to get it. So thank you very much for giving of your time and for your commitment to the people in this community and for the work that you do. It's very, very important, as you know. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but I wanted to stop by tonight to say thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Maroon. We appreciate that. It means a lot to us to hear that. Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Hi, so I came here, I think like in December to another meeting, and I know like when I came there's a process that it takes for you guys, but I don't know how aware of what happens during that process, how it affects us. So during the time that I've been here, so I have all these doctor bills. I just lost my position at my job as a nurse on Tuesday because I'm still not back to work. Still have a concussion. I still go to physical therapy, and I'm paying all of my co-pays myself while this process is being done. So I don't know how I'm paying my rent next month. So like I said last time, I've been a nurse for 30 years. I've never been in trouble. I don't fight. I live right down the street. I pay a lot of money to live where I live. Now, because of the carelessness of a police officer, I can't continue my life as it was before. And this has been since on Thanksgiving Day. So now what? I mean, I know there's no answer to now what, but I'm just saying that I don't know if you guys, I know you have so many days, but last time I was here when you guys said that there was like 14 cases from 2000 and what was it, 17, and 40 something from 2018, and like 80 from 2019. I'm at the tail end of 2019. By the time you guys get to me, I'm gonna be under the bridge somewhere. So, I mean, it has to be something. This cannot be okay. It can't be okay.
So my suggestion is, I don't have any good answer for that. I'm sorry to hear the news about you losing your job. I would say that in order to make this process continue to be viable and on people's minds as to how long it's taking them to resolve these matters, reach out to your common counselor, reach out to the mayor's office, write letters and things of that nature, because until there is enough of an outcry for this to be something bigger than us continuing to say, hey, we need you to hurry, you know what I mean, we need you to meet these deadlines set aside in the ordinance. It's just me saying it.
I know.
So I would like your case to have been done yesterday. You know what I mean? I would like it to have, a lot of people's cases to be done yesterday. The ones that are still outstanding from 2017, 2018, and the ones from 2019. I'm continuing to push that, level. That's the reason why we had these continuous meetings with the mayor's office to say, hey, can you put the pressure on the police department to, do something with regard to this backlog and to get their processes in order, because, hear the call, I get the calls, and I know that people's lives are forever changed sometimes with regard to these incidents, you know? And I know the longer it takes us to get through the process, that's you reliving that situation again. So if it takes me 9 months to get to your case, now that's 9 months you had to sit and wait, and now that's 9 months later, you're having to relive what happened to you again. I understand that. I try to tell people that. I try to explain the reason why the deadlines are the way that they are, was to so that you could have some resolve in a quicker manner. So the only thing I can say is that I'm with you. It should have been done yesterday. And the only thing I can do is please encourage you to, you know, reach out to your common counselors, reach out to the mayor's office, and tell them that, you know, the community is suffering for how long it's taking the police department to investigate these cases and give me some resolve. You can do that. I mean, and that would be, I can't tell you what to do. That would just be a suggestion, but I can't say I understand how you feel. I just know that this process is not moving as fast as I would like it to be, and I want you to get resolved a lot quicker than what you're getting.
Okay.
So, I want to just add to that, you know, we've been trying to work with the mayor's office and the police department for quite a while now, since before the new chief started. The chief has made commitments to catch up on the cases that have not been reported to us. We can certainly make another call about your case. You got the name?
I do.
Yeah. We can do that. I would emphasize that it really is important for the common counselors, especially if you have the common counselor of the district where you live, and also Chol Majok, who's a new counselor, who is now the chair of the Public Safety Committee. They're responsible for the CRB and relations with the police department. They know about this backlog. They know that there are cases out there that are affecting people. And we're trying to work with the police department, and we've gotten commitments to catch up on those cases that are backlogged and to set up a system where we get, in a timely manner, all the reports that we're entitled to. We're not there yet. But the more the Common Council and the Mayor's Office hears from citizens like you, it can make a difference. So please follow up with that.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Okay, we're going to have a presentation in a moment from NYCLU. Any other members of the public, while we have time, that wanted to say anything? Yusuf, the mic is yours.
I was born on perfect timing, right? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say thank you for having me here. Welcome back. I was pretty excited about your invitation to the State of the Union. I'm not excited about the speech, but it's really a good honor to see that one of our community members is represented there. Irrespective to the politics, this is a very distinguished opportunity, so congratulations. I'm here because I think we have all had a number of aspirations for how our community police relations would be improving over the course of years in some cases, and throughout your tenure as part of the Citizens Review Board. Part of what I've presented over the last few times that I've been in the session is an aspiration from a local community organizing group called SPARC, which is the Syracuse Police Accountability and Reform Coalition. SPARC is a part of a number of organizations that have come together and individuals in the community that care deeply about police reform. And in effect, it functions kind of like a think tank where it thinks about what are the policies, what are the practices, what are the shortcomings in legislation that exists in Syracuse that allows for the continuance of problems between community police encounters, and why we see a consistent situation where there's a lack of oversight over the SPD. Last year, we saw a number of problems in our community arise, and I think as time has gotten away from us, our attention to those issues have kind of dwindled with the, I guess, unfortunate reality of not actually moving forward until probably the next crisis happens. SPARC is deeply concerned and committed about making sure that we don't get into a situation in our community where community members' civil rights are violated, where we see consistent situations that don't result in resolution. And we think that what happened this summer, in particular to Mr. Shalin Moore and Mr. Yamil Osorio, with respect to citizens encountering police officers while they're driving, is a part of a larger pattern in Syracuse of police-citizen encounters that result in problematic circumstances and outcomes. So we've talked about drafting legislation. And in fact, last year we did draft some legislation. I talked about it briefly last year. It's called the Right to Know Act. And the Right to Know Act is a two-part bill. The first part bill talks about a consent to search. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that if you are an officer is engaging in a lawful police encounter where they have some legitimate investigatory purposes that they wouldn't be able to search you. If you were fleeing from a scene where there was an accident, where there was a shooting, for instance, you happened to have a gun on you, that would not impede on the officer's ability to retrieve that weapon, to engage in you and to search you, obviously, because that's a legitimate law enforcement purpose. Unfortunately, what we see in Syracuse is a lot of illegitimate law enforcement purposes resulting in police-citizen encounters. That shouldn't happen. I know that while I've driven throughout Syracuse, I've seen people, particularly young black and brown men, who have been patted against walls downtown. I've seen people who have been officers have driven on the sidewalk and have kind of patted citizens down. We have research from the council, which has commissioned a study that has shown significantly over years that Syracuse Police Department has a pretty much a stop and frisk problem in Syracuse. And so we believe that this legislation was not just necessary for what happened to Mr. Moore, what happened to the young men and women in our community that we don't know about, but to enhance community citizen engagement with SPD. And so the first part of that bill is consent to search, that the officer has to inform the citizens to why they're being stopped and why they're being searched. It doesn't seem to be something that is very difficult. It doesn't seem to be something that's kind of unreasonable. And in fact, I do a lot of Know Your Rights trainings where I go around in different community centers, churches, other groups to talk to them about knowing your rights when stopped by police. I almost often feel very uncomfortable doing those workshops, particularly as an African American, because I know my rights. I'm pretty clear about what they are. I work at the ACLU, but I would be dishonest if I didn't tell you that every time I'm in my vehicle and I'm driving and I see a cop behind me, my heart doesn't begin to beat faster. I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that every time that I walked by a police officer that I didn't have some sense of uncomfortability. And it's not because I think all police are bad or because I think police are bad, but because the reality is that being a person of color in this country is that we tend to be more enforced, and the ways in which our encounters with law enforcement are not the same type of encounters that other parts of our community have. And so what the Right to Know Act would do in the first part of the bill would require officers, as I said, to inform citizens as to why they're being stopped and for what they're being stopped. The second part of the bill is an ID bill, which requires citizens who encounter police officers who may feel that that encounter wasn't the best of encounters to be able to have a business card of who stopped them, what they stopped them for, and where they could go to file a complaint against misconduct, which would be the Citizens Review Board. We believe that both of these parts are really important for our community, and we're embarking on a campaign to educate the public, stakeholders like the CRB, counselors, and we'll be going through a series of meetings with common counselors to talk to them about it, to begin to put this legislation forward. Our goal is that we continue to move this bill forward. We talked last year about passing it, and we decided that we wanted to do a broader community education piece before we actually ask the council to move forward. But we're ready to move forward. And so this is a part of a tour that we're going to throughout the community to stakeholders to inform them and to potentially answer questions, if there are any, about why this legislation is not only necessary and timely, but is really something that's going to help advance the common interest in Syracuse for community members whose encounters with law enforcement are less than satisfactory.
Peter.
Thank you. Any board members have any questions? Cliff?
Is that something that we could have him come as far as the retreat and then inform us more on?
We can check his date. I know you have a community forum coming up.
We do, yes. The community forum is two Mondays from now. I don't.
It's on my calendar.
Yeah, my calendar is like crazy. So like I'm like in Albany and back and forth. So the date I don't exactly remember, but I think it's the 17th of February, which is a Monday at the Community Folk Art Center. It's from 5:30 p.m. It begins at 5:30 p.m. with a kind of a networking mixer where there'll be light refreshments, hors d'oeuvres, non-alcoholic beverages. You'll be able to enjoy art and kind of connect and engage with community members. I did say non-alcoholic beverages.
What's the folk art center?
It's where Genesee Street, I think 500 East Genesee Street is the address, and I can share the information so you have all that information. But it's an art gallery, so you'll be able to enjoy kind of community space to be able to interact. And we're inviting Jamani Williams, who is currently the public advocate in New York City, but he was formerly a city council member who was a part of the work to make the Right to Know Act come to life in New York City. We're interested in hearing the lessons that they learned from New York. We hope that our bill is going to be better than New York's bill because they had some challenges there. And we're a different city. We have different dynamics and we have different types of encounters. But we think it's important that community members get to hear from people who are actually experiencing, like, did the stops and searches actually go down? And what are the benefits of these types of changes in legislation in cities? We're going to be inviting not just community members and yourselves as well, but we're going to be inviting common councilors so they can also hear. So this is a part of a broader kind of community engagement strategy to be able to talk about it and to make sure that folks understand why this bill is really important and why we need it at Syracuse.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Laura?
I don't know how far you've gone with specifics, but the card that you were talking about, would that be something that the police officers would have in hand to someone that they?
Yes, that's the objective.
Would the objective be to automatically do that or only upon request?
It would be automatic. I think the idea is for it to be affirmative. If it was only upon request, then it's not going to happen, right? And what we're trying to do is reduce the type of encounters that are not legitimate law enforcement encounters. We know it happens. There's actually a third part of this bill, which is a data reporting aspect so that we can begin to understand how do we police our community members? What are the number of complaints that we get? What are the types of complaints that we get? Very much information that you all do collect that would help both spur your ability to be better policy advocates and continue the great policy advocacy work that you have been doing, as well as making it more reportable to reduce some of the challenges that you are experiencing currently, as was expressed by the young woman who was here before with SPD and the types of encounters the citizens have with them.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, what did you say that it was that's taking place on the 17th? How did you?
Yes, it's a town hall forum. We, like I said, the first half an hour is just come and get food, enjoy people's company, enjoy art. There's a really great Black history exhibit that's going on there, and it's an amazing space. And it's a chance for people to really just kind of wind down. We don't charge anything for people to come, and we're not going to charge people to come. We really do want to make sure that the community, and particularly people who are directly impacted, are participating in this. And so please do spread the word. But it is important for us that all stakeholders are at the conversation.
I just wanted to put it in my calendar so I don't forget.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Yusuf, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work. Any other comments or questions from the public? Then I'll take a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, Diane?
Hey, thanks.
I think Joe and Lou and myself is just, we was here from the beginning to see this, and y'all just cheering it on, and I'm just so happy to see this. I even hear Grant, boy, Lou.
So that's Joe right there, right?
It's a lot easier to sit here than it is up there.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll take a motion to move to executive session to discuss cases.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned to executive session. Thank you.